Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 200 of Let's Go Racing. Tyler Jones, Dominic Aragon, and Matt Kemp here with you. So glad to have you with us. Got a lot to discuss, including the big win for C. Bell, Christopher Bell, this past weekend at Bristol. We'll also look ahead to this upcoming weekend's race at New Hampshire as we begin a new round of the NASCAR playoffs. Got plenty to talk about there on that front. We'll get to our news and notes, also our mailbag segment at the end of today's show as well. And Dominic joins me right now. Dominic, you and I, we've been here for almost all of these episodes, the vast majority anyway. And we've had a lot of people come through this show. Obviously, David Starr has been a big part of this show, and Matt most recently. And we've had some great guests over the years. It's been quite the run to make it to 200 here.
200 episodes just doesn't sound right because that means time's moving at 200 miles an hour. But what an honor this has been to do 200 episodes with you, Tyler. I've probably been here for about maybe 195 of them, 196, probably about the same for you. And yeah, 5 years has just really clicked off so fast. But like we said in our little release earlier this week, I think I just hope people enjoy and continue to enjoy listening to our show like we've continued to put it together. It's so much fun bringing this to everyone each and every week. And as you guys heard off the top of the show, I just got to give a quick shout out. New theme music for episode 200. We turned that century mark, that double century mark. New music that was produced at the Brand Cave in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Shout out Brandon Ortega and Colin Johnson, and yours truly on the drum kit helping with that. So also a creative outlet to push some new music out. So thank you for that, Tyler.
Yes, episode 200 here, and we've had some great memories over the years. What comes to mind for you, Dom?
Gosh, I think just taking the show on the road and being able to do this show in Daytona. We did a Texas Motor Speedway. We've done this at Kansas Speedway, and when we had David early on, bring him out of the cup car and bring him onto the set, if you will. So some of those memories stand out, and then just some of the cool guests that we've had the honor and privilege to have on this show. It would be, I'd be here all night trying to remember everyone that has been on the show, but gosh, we've had some great shows. I think at times, Tyler, we've been here, I think, as students of the sport because the guests we've had on, we're just listening. We're taking it all in just like you guys listening along too. Whether in your car, or at your computer desk, at work, or whatever, we were listening alongside too, just getting immersed in the sport and learning more about how the sport works. And this show, I think, has given me an even deeper appreciation for motorsports. And we've made some lifelong friends and connections with doing this show as well. And of course, interacting with the people that make this show happen. I will tell you, Tyler, one of the weirdest things, and this was early on, but when we were doing this show, getting recognized at the track for doing this show was something I still can't wrap my head around. It's just too crazy for me to wrap my head around. So those all come to mind for me. Let's say you.
Man, this show has been so much fun to do over the years, and all the different twists and turns that were unexpected, I think, is kind of my big memories. Interviewing a guest one week and then ending up with free tickets to an NFL playoff game a couple days later, to the great events we've had at the racetrack and the people we've met. I mean, a lot of stuff that I could not have imagined worked out the way it did. And we've certainly been grateful to bring it all to you here on Let's Go Racing over the years. Matt, I know you're the newest member of the cast here at Let's Go Racing, but we've had some great memories, and we're looking forward to this next chapter to have you along board and be a part of the ride here for more memories to come here, man.
Oh man, me too. You guys have built a pretty awesome thing here over the last 5 years. It's crazy to think you guys have been doing this for 5 years, but I've been fortunate to be on a couple times prior to our little stint here, and do this deal with David and you guys, and had a lot of fun doing that, and looking forward to what's next.
Yeah, can't wait to see what's in store. And enough about us. Let's get to the business of the day and look back on the win for Christopher Bell at Bristol. Matt, I'll start with you. Last week, I was the Debbie Downer. I was very, I would say, disheartened, not excited about this race whatsoever, even though everything pointed to, hey, it's Bristol. It's a playoff race. But I went in with low expectations. Let me ask you, did the race fulfill your desires? Did you enjoy Saturday night's race there at Bristol?
Well, it's an interesting question for sure, and I personally I can say I did enjoy it. I love the high tire wear and a lot of I don't know if you'd call it attrition, but there was a lot going on and a lot of action happening throughout. Um, a little bit kind of felt like a lottery. So that part of it, I don't know if I loved, but I did love once they figured out what was going on towards the end that some guys could manage it and crew chiefs could strategize, and there was a lot of moving parts throughout the race that made it really challenging for not only the crew chiefs but the drivers and really everybody involved. So all around, I personally I enjoyed it. It leads to a bigger conversation of if this is really what we want out of Bristol races moving forward. But I thought it was good, and I personally enjoyed it.
Dominic, Christopher Bell went on that run to start the season, winning three straight races. And then it had been a long time since we had mentioned C. Bell. He had run up front and he'd been pretty fast, but wasn't the same like he was in that three race stretch. And the talk over the last few weeks has been all about Toyota and JGR. We've seen Denny get in victory lane, Chase Briscoe get in victory lane. It was only a matter of time before that 20 car did the same thing. And at a place that Christopher Bell, it makes total sense of him getting this win, a track that he's so good at in Bristol. It was only a matter of time, and now he's right back in the championship conversation again.
Bristol winner of a arguably one of the crown jewel events, if it's maybe not in the top three, certainly the top five in the NASCAR Cup Series. And who's not to say he can go on another stretch like he did in the spring? We're going to New Hampshire. He won there last year. He knows how to get around that place. We'll do more on that later. But 13th career win. Hard to think, too, on that, Tyler, too, that 13 career wins only ties him with Dick Rathman, Tim Richmond on the all-time wins list, because it sure seems like he's won a lot more races. But nonetheless, a four-win season now. And he continues to show time and time again why he's consistent. He and his team show up in the playoffs. And a very vocal Christopher Bell. I think we touched on it a little bit last week too, but last week really showing his displeasure, which we really don't at least see that in the public eye much from Christopher Bell. But his profanity-laced tirade against his crew, I think, probably lit a fire under his team as well. And I think he led 4 times for 12 laps, but he led the most important one. That's what counts.
No doubt. And Matt, this win for Christopher Bell, I imagine puts him right back in the conversation. We've seen this in the past where, maybe a guy went on a run in the spring or in the summer, and then it was a long time before they got back to victory lane. But you only need that one. If you're that 20 team and you see the speed that JGR and Toyota's had, they got to have all the confidence in the world right now, I would think.
Oh yeah, no question, no question at all. They're on top of the world. They've had 3 of their 4 drivers in victory lane in the first 3 races of the playoffs, and uh, you got to think everybody's showing their hand, and they've come out on top all 3 weeks. So I'd say that's big time worries for the rest of the competition. Really, Toyota as a whole has been really good, but I know this one was kind of more of a crazy race, but they still came out on top. So and then actually I thought it was interesting. I don't think he got stage points in either of the first or second stage at that Bristol race and ended up going on to win it. So that was kind of an interesting thing too.
Yeah, that was a big deal there on that front for him to get that done and get that win. And with that said, we'll talk about the playoff picture, the updated points here in just a second. But let me ask you, Dom, with what we've seen from JGR with those 3 teams, do you think that they have separated themselves? Does it, in your opinion, feel like JGR versus everybody else? Are those 3 cars the cars to beat for this championship right now? Or do you think there's still an opening for one of these other teams to step up here?
Gosh, it sure seems that way too. And of course, he's not in the playoffs, but Ty Gibbs leading a career high 200 and X laps, whatever it was. Strong showing from the JGR camp altogether. So this championship might have to go through Team Toyota and Toyota Racing Development and through Joe Gibbs Racing itself, because you're going to New Hampshire. I think that'll show another testament of the speed. Maybe you get through Martinsville in there too with a flatter short track, but then Phoenix, how Phoenix races, we have a good sample size now. And unless there's some catastrophic failures at the Roval or Talladega, because of course we're going to have other factors, I think you look at all of that and you got to think Joe Gibbs Racing is in prime position. We all know it comes down to a race, and anything can happen in one championship race, but it's something that you can't put past. And I want to ask Matt this perspective real quick, because I think what kind of got lost in the shuffle with this whole race weekend. The move at the end, you have the restart, 4 laps to go. Christopher Bell and Brad Keselowski clear the field, and Keselowski was coming. As a racer, Matt, in Christopher Bell's shoes and in Brad Keselowski's shoes, both are going for a win. And we knew Keselowski was going to send it into turn 3. But as a driver, you're certainly expecting that move into the potential of wrecking. Of course, a crash didn't happen on that last lap. I guess my question for you, Matt, as Christopher Bell's position, is that something he's going to remember down the road? Even though he won the race, that was one heck of a move that Keselowski pushed. And we were almost talking about a crash on the last lap.
For sure. And I think so too, especially knowing the position that Keselowski was in. I think his ultimate point there was hey, the playoffs weren't meant to be fair anyway, but uh and being a non-playoff guy going and moving a playoff guy out of the way for a win. Not just moving him, he was shipping him. He was trying to ship him. So, and I think if he'd have stayed on the bottom, he'd have been successful in it, but just overcooked it a little bit. But I definitely think Bell will remember it, but he also probably understands how desperate Keselowski was in that moment, knowing they've finished second so many times as an organization this year. So I don't know. I think he'll remember it, but maybe not as much as if he would have lost the race.
And if you're Brad, do you apologize? Do you go and apologize to Christopher after?
You can't. I mean, you were committed, so I mean, it is what it is, man.
Question for both of you. How likely is it that we see the 3 JGR cars in the championship 4, making up 75% of that field there at Phoenix? We'll start with you, Matt. How likely do you see that potentially happening?
75%? I don't know. It's looking pretty good right now. So it's going to be tough for him, but I'll be honest with you, man. It's looking like a pretty good shot. If there's ever been a good shot for it, this would be the year, it seems.
What about you, Dom? You see that potentially happening, getting 3 in the final 4?
Man, let's revisit this after the Roval in Talladega, right? We got a lot more racing to go, but all signs would point towards JGR's playoff bound cars championship 4 bound at this time. Tyler, you agree, disagree? What do you think?
I think if things keep up par the course, then yes. But there's a lot that could happen between now and then. And, JGR, I would say, Dom, kind of flipped a switch when it came playoff time. Who's to say that this week or even next week that we're not having the same conversation about Hendrick or another team? We know this is a week-to-week sport. These things can change quickly.
Yes, things can happen overnight. Momentum shifts in the sport. Winning fixes a lot of things. And with this being a very momentum-based sport, yeah, the flat tracks tend to favor Toyota and the Team Penske camp right now. The mile and a half would probably favor more of the Hendrick Motorsports vehicles. So maybe we have a good balance in this upcoming round because you have Kansas coming up as well. So hard to say, but I can tell you this, it'll be very fun to watch.
All right, let's talk about the playoff picture now. Let's start off with the guys that were eliminated. And Matt, I'll begin with you here. Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, SVG, and Josh Berry. I feel like of those 4 that were eliminated, there's one of those 4 that feels very differently about how their season went than the other 3. And you don't have to be a genius to figure this out, folks, but there's 3 of them there that are saying to themselves, yeah, we got to victory lane. We made the playoff. We weren't great week in and week out, but we can feel good about our season. And then there's one there that is the 4th best car in his 4-car team, had all the resources. There was some off-the-track drama involving his crew chief and a certain reporter that may have served as a distraction as well on some things. And they're saying to themselves, what could have been? That's how I feel when it comes to those 4 that were eliminated. Do you feel the same way, Matt?
I would 100% agree. I think that, especially considering on my grid, I picked him to go all the way. So I'm a little disappointed with how his first round went. Disappointed in that 48 team, Alex Bowman. But they looked like they were going to have a shot at Bristol, man. I thought they were going to pull it off for a little bit, and they gave it one heck of an effort. But yeah, I don't know. What say you, Dom?
Yeah, I feel like if there was a team that could have turned up the fire and just sparked some momentum based on how they made it into the playoffs and how well they had, for the most part, run during the regular season, Alex Bowman would have been the guy. And there was a chance, like you said, for him to be able to pull off that victory at Bristol down 2 laps, 3 laps during some of the varying strategy with that tire wear. And the 48 team found a way to find themselves up front at the end. And maybe the race goes green, if I remember correctly. Maybe there would have been a chance there with him and Hocevar, but they get re-racked and they have a restart with 4 laps to go, and it just wasn't meant to be. But Alex Bowman had some Hail Mary passes thrown his way too, with the Austin Cindric fire that also sidelined Josh Berry as well. Oh, and by the way, too, what a horrible, statistically speaking, round of 16. I believe that's the worst since this playoff format was founded in 2014, man.
Gotta be.
Man, Bowman of all those 4 guys gave it a run for his money and made up the most points to that cut line at Bristol.
Yeah, and came up short. And I would say this, kind of comparing it to football for a second. When you have teams that, like, you could have the same 2 teams, let's say the Chiefs and the Bengals, for example, if they both go, 10-7 this upcoming season, just as an example, the Chiefs would be very disappointed. The Bengals would be happy about that. And I think the same can be said in this sense in NASCAR, where, yeah, these 4 drivers got eliminated, but that Alex Bowman and 48 team, they're feeling much worse about getting eliminated early compared to Dylan, SVG, and Josh Berry. The 3 of them are saying our seasons went pretty well, all things considered, especially when you look at Berry and SVG. Those are young drivers. They got some momentum. Austin Dillon really struggled much of the season, was still able to get a late win and make the playoff here. Like, you don't feel the same way just because you got eliminated at the same time. This is a very different outlook for that 48 team compared to the other 3 going into the offseason, Matt.
Yeah, no question, and definitely a big disappointment for them. But they're a very capable team, so I think going into next year, I think there's a good chance you're gonna see them turn it around and be better than ever. But yeah, they got to figure something out before the end of this year to get some momentum back.
Yeah, and Alex Bowman, that hot seat certainly gets a lot warmer too
Sure does.
when it comes to his future. And the talk, of course, about Carson Hocevar is only going to heat up from here at this point, potentially making that move to that 48 car. All right, let's look at the guys that are still in the playoff. Let's start out at the top. Denny Hamlin, 26 points above. Kyle Larson and William Byron, each 24 above. Christopher Bell, 20 points above. Let's start with you, Matt. Those 4 there advance and have a little bit of cushion to start off this next round here. But this next round is certainly probably the biggest wild card round of the entire playoff here. You can't be too comfortable, even if you're at the top right now.
No, for sure. And I'll be honest with you. I don't know if there's any round that I feel comfortable with. We've got Bristol as obviously even more of a wild card than normal with the tire wear. And then you've got the Roval in round 2, which is always a wild card. And then you got Talladega in a round of 8. So yeah, there's no room to be comfortable here. You got to be on it every single lap of every single race and get the most amount of points you can, because even the guys up at the top really can't be too comfortable. Just north of half a race worth of points, not even to, one thing happens and they'll be at the bottom of the grid.
Then you go to the next 4, Dom. Blaney, 19 above. Chase Briscoe, 10 above. Chase Elliott, 5 above. And Bubba Wallace, 1 above. There's 2 things that stand out to me. As good as Chase Briscoe's run as of late, 10 points ahead of the cutoff is not much. And then you have, I said 2 things. I'll say 3 things. You're talking about 2 former champions here in Blaney and Elliott. That's interesting to see that they are in this position. And then there's Bubba Wallace. I think that everybody's looking at Bubba saying, he's the weakest link of that top 8, but he's run so well, and the Toyotas have run so well that can Bubba keep this up in this next round here? That next 4 is all fascinating for different reasons.
So many storylines to cover in that bottom 4 that are currently above the cut line. Chase Briscoe, though, if he continues doing what he's doing with the momentum that JGR has, he's going to easily collect probably 14, 15 stage points at New Hampshire just by the matter of qualifying up front, racing up front. There's not to say Chase Briscoe goes out and wins this upcoming weekend at New Hampshire and locks himself into the next round. If I'm Chase Elliott, if I'm Ryan Blaney, I don't know if the momentum is there like it might be for a Bubba Wallace or a Chase Elliott. And I would even put Blaney above Chase Elliott at this point, Tyler, because we've seen Blaney run a lot faster and a lot better than we have from that 9 team as of late.
And then you go to the four that are on the outside looking into the cutoff. Austin Cindric, 1 point back in ninth. Ross Chastain, 2 points back in 10th. Joey Logano, 2 points back in 11th. And Tyler Reddick, 3 points back in 12th. And, you see this group here. You got a former champion in Joey Logano. You got a Toyota car in Tyler Reddick. And then you got Austin Cindric and Ross Chastain, which have, had okay but not great seasons at this point. In your opinion, Matt, of those four, who's got the best shot to advance out and make that top eight?
Yeah, I gotta go with the Toyota with Tyler Reddick. They've been a lot better, and again, Toyota's got the momentum right now and have been showing a ridiculous amount of speed compared to the other manufacturers. But uh, realistically, I could see any of them making it up above it, and with how tight the points are, man, it only takes one or two bad nights for someone above the cut line or a Josh Berry type round to knock them out. So, um, I definitely would go with Tyler Reddick as my favorite at the bottom four.
All right, let's shift gears now to New Hampshire, the Mobile One 301. There at New Hampshire Motor Speedway this weekend. Dom, this used to be a track that we went to twice a year. Now only one race per season there at New Hampshire, and this race right in the thick of the playoffs, another short track event. What do you think about this event coming up on Sunday?
Yeah, I think we see a lot of what we saw in Gateway. We see a lot of Ford. We see a lot of Toyota up front. And I don't know if we see Hendrick Motorsports. Prove me wrong. We'll see if that actually does happen with Kyle Larson and William Byron up front. But I feel like we haven't seen a lot of that speed. And Kyle Larson was the exception at Gateway because that tire test earlier in the year seemed to pay off for that number 5 team. But outside of that, Tyler, thinking Toyota and Fords, which we'll get into the odds here in a second. But if you're a Toyota in the Toyota camp or in the Ford camp, specifically Team Penske, you're feeling really good entering New Hampshire. And that's what I'm looking for this upcoming Sunday.
Matt, I was looking at the entry list, and this could change between now and when the cars actually qualify. An interesting note: all chartered cars. Well, if you include front row in 2311, but you guys get the idea. 36 entries in this race, no open teams uh, making the trip to New Hampshire. That to me is fascinating to see that not be a factor this late in the year, that those guys are kind of sitting this one out.
For sure. Well, it's a long haul for them guys up there, and I mean, I don't know what the payout looks like up there, but yeah, it's got something to do with it for sure. So either way, it's going to be a plenty good event. You're not going to notice too much without them missing guys there, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting one up there for sure.
Yeah. Looking at the past winners, Dom, we talked about Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing, how well that they've done, as of late. And this has been their track. Christopher Bell has won two of the last three races. Martin Truex Jr. won in between in 2023. We talk about timing and momentum and all these things. This race could not come at a better time for JGR than right here and right now.
Yeah, and they are firing on all cylinders for sure. And like Matt said earlier in the show, you're going to reveal your full hand during the playoffs. You're going to bring your best of the best, and your equipment's going to show. And there's just a little more emphasis in these playoff races. And Joe Gibbs Racing just seems to be the premier team of the field right now, and it's hard to dispute that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Matt, New Hampshire, what do you think of when you think of this racetrack and the races we've seen over the years?
Yeah, I think of a couple good finishes. I think of Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. I think of that rain deal a couple years ago when Kyle Busch went up and hit the pace car. I think of a lot of good playoff moments, to be honest with you. So I think we're in for a treat. It's a beautiful part of the country. If you guys have ever had the opportunity to be up there, I actually went and spotted for a buddy in the K&N East Series back in 2019 when it was still the K&N Series. So got to experience it up there, and it is a beautiful part of the country and an awesome racetrack. So definitely underrated, and moved up a lot on my list when I got to go visit it. So excited that the Cup Series is back in the playoffs. I think it's honestly a good track for the playoffs, so I'm excited for it.
Good fit for the playoffs too. It's just tradition too, since the Chase era of 2004. New Hampshire and the playoffs just go synonymous with each other, Tyler.
Yeah, this was the playoff opener for a long time
Mhm.
to begin, and we saw. I think of personally, Dom. It seemed like Tony Stewart for a while owned this place.
Yeah.
Uh, there was they would play the video promoting the playoffs every year, and I have this vivid memory in my mind of the camera shot from the start finish line that goes up and down, and there's that 20 Home Depot car taking the checkered flag. And to me, like I think New Hampshire, I think Tony Stewart winning this race in the playoffs, we saw many times in the past.
You're talking about that camera angle that's like right there at the start finish line, that 20 orange Home Depot car crosses the line and they pan it up to the flag man
Yep.
waving the check. Yep, that's iconic.
Yep. That's what I think of when I think of this place and the lobster and everything. I have not had the pleasure to go to this racetrack, but I would love to one of these days. So
We'll make the trek out there someday together.
yeah, yeah, I'm down. I'm down for that. All right, let's move on, get to our news and notes for this week. Dom, we got plenty to discuss.
So many to discuss, and I think we'll keep it with a more geography lesson because a lot of our headlines tend to come out of Arizona this week. So with NASCAR's announcement, or a couple of announcements, we'll get to the first one here with the awards banquet being announced on November 4th, which would be the Tuesday after the NASCAR Championship Cup Series and Xfinity and Truck Weekend in Phoenix and the Championship 4 celebrations. The awards banquet is taking place Tuesday, November 4th in Scottsdale, Arizona. And this will just be the culmination of the NASCAR season, as opposed to waiting to the end of November or early December, as we've seen in year past. And also worth noting, too, Tyler, that this awards banquet has moved around in the last decade and a half to 2 decades. Originally a New York staple from the 80s to 2008, moved to Las Vegas from 2009 to 2018. Then it moved to Nashville, and then most recently Charlotte, North Carolina last year. I believe that was maybe 1 or 2 years they did that. And now we're holding the awards banquet in Scottsdale, November 4th, and it's earlier than what we are used to seeing.
So there's a couple things I was thinking about this, Matt. I think for the industry, this is good to get this done, get this out of the way. No additional travel. You just stay a couple extra days in Phoenix, the Phoenix area. I think all that sounds good, especially like from a media standpoint. Don't have to make two trips out of it now if you're covering this race. You just stay a couple more days and you're there for the banquet. That's all good. I think that's all positive. But I would say this, Matt, if you are somebody that contends for that championship and you're on the short end of the stick, the first thing you're wanting to do after that race ends is go home. And now you got to stay in Phoenix a couple extra days and watch somebody celebrate that championship again after you lost it on Sunday. And now you got to go through all those emotions again. Maybe you're going to go home for a day or so just to, cool the jets or something, get some fresh air, whatever it may be. Maybe you go out to Southern California or something for a day or so. But I mean, that's what I think of. Like logistically speaking, yes, this makes sense. But if you're somebody that's on the wrong end of this championship, that's gonna suck to really just be dwelling on that for a couple more days.
No, no doubt. I think you're spot on with all that, honestly. And to be honest with you, if I mean, unless I got a place out there, I'm probably not too happy about being all the way across the country for an extra couple days too, on top of losing a championship. So, hey, maybe it's just more incentive that they better win because it's going to be a pretty sucky next couple of days if they don't.
Um, Dom, what do you think of this championship celebration being in Scottsdale just a couple days later? I would think too in the future that maybe this is something that they sell. They're looking to move the championship to a different location every year, and maybe this is the package incentive for whoever hosts the championship race. Hey, you need to have a venue where we can also do this awards banquet and make it a full weekend of sorts going forward. I would think that Scottsdale's a one-off, and we're probably going to do this in Miami next year.
That would make sense. All those thoughts would check out in my head. And I think where my mind went on this when this announced, oh, cool. Gonna be out there to cover it, stay there a little bit longer. And like you said, you're already making the trip to go cover the race weekend. It makes sense to stay out there and do that. Now, maybe the cynical side of me wonders, and I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but the awards banquet is so quick. The turnaround is not weeks, it's 2 days after the championship. If this has anything to do with, of course, the impending litigation against NASCAR and the teams, is this going to potentially detract if this would have been held in Charlotte, say the week before the trial? Because if I remember right, Tyler, the trial starts at this point in time, December 3rd, December 2nd, somewhere in there, that Monday, whatever that first Monday is in December. And the awards banquet would be around that time. So I don't know if this is one of those timed moves or it's just a coincidence. And I'm on the outside looking in. I don't know, but that's where my mind went on that.
Yeah, I think it's a very fair point to raise. Are they looking to move quickly here to get to the business at hand? I think it's a very fair question to ask as far as that goes, and we'll see how things play out. But I'm very fascinated by all of it and where we potentially go from here with this. Now, the championship banquet itself, Dom. This, I feel like, you know, in the 2000s was a big deal. This would be live on network TV. They put it on TNT or, Speed Channel, FS1, whatever it may be. And then, it kind of faded off. And now it's going to be on like NASCAR's Fast Channel or something like that. I mean, we've seen some great moments. I think when Tom Cruise surprised Jeff Gordon, or when Jeff Gordon did the milk toast to Dale Earnhardt. I guess Jeff Gordon had a lot of these great memories there with the banquet. This used to be a big deal. Jay Moore had some controversy. I remember when he hosted, taking shots at Danica and she didn't respond. But I feel like it's not what it used to be. Kind of lost its luster a bit.
Maybe a little bit of a shell of its former self, because you're right, it's not on network TV anymore. It's not, and there for a while, I don't think it was live. I think it was tape delayed for a few days too. So I think that shows the gravity of how big of an event it used to be to where it is today. And having the privilege of covering a couple of these in Las Vegas in the 2010s, they still made a big deal. They were all at the red carpet, and it was held at the Wynn Las Vegas, which is arguably the nicest, if not one of the top five nicest casinos in all of Las Vegas and all of Nevada for that matter. So they still put on a lot, and they would have cool events, after parties, private concerts. A Train was there one year doing a private concert. Another year was a super group with guys from Skid Row and ZZ Top. Like, these are big over the top events, even the stuff that doesn't make it onto TV. But at least the TV production side of it, this is not as big of a deal as it used to be. And it's not even the top 10 in points anymore. It's the playoff guys. The dynamic has changed too. And I get that with the playoff format. Of course, that's going to change over time. But it's definitely not the banquet I think all three of us remember from our childhood.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that it's come to this, but time goes on. Maybe Scottsdale and doing this after the championship is the rebirth it potentially needs. We'll see. What else we got going on?
We'll keep the headlines rolling from the Phoenix area in Arizona as well, with the IndyCar schedule coming out. Well, why is that important? We usually talk NASCAR on the show. Well, it's a big deal because the IndyCar series has officially announced with Phoenix Raceway on Tuesday, September 16th, that there's going to be a doubleheader at Phoenix Raceway in March. On March 7th, you'll have the highly anticipated showdown with the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the NASCAR IndyCar Series. And of course, the NASCAR Cup Series is in town that weekend as well. So the biggest crossover of the IndyCar Series, the NTT IndyCar Series, and the NASCAR Cup Series showing down with a duel in the desert in March of 2026.
So there's a couple things that come to mind on this for me, Dom. One of those is this is a great deal for cross promotion, to have everybody in the same place, to have NASCAR and IndyCar together. What's the saying about all tides lift small boats or something like that? I don't know, but you get the idea. I think that's great, especially in the early portion of both of their seasons. I think that's good. And then another thing, like, you get IndyCar running on a NASCAR-owned track, might I add you. This is not an SMI track. I think that's a smart business play for Penske when you're looking. IndyCar needs all the promotion that they can get. Both races are going to be on the Fox broadcast network. There's going to be plenty of cross promotion there. I think this benefits IndyCar way more than it does for NASCAR from a business standpoint. But then we talk logistics here. Um, what if it rains?
And it has happened there in Phoenix in the past.
What if it rains? And then, man, we got a lot to make up in a short amount of time potentially. And it's certainly a possibility here. Like on the surface level, all of that sounds good until it doesn't sound good. But I think it is a risk worth taking that, there's the good outweighs the bad scenarios here, I think.
Yeah, I think there's only one situation where I think you look at the whole thing. Where was I going with this? Where I'm going with this is that the fan wins. The fan wins. Motorsport fans. Motorsports fans are going to get the ultimate victory out of this, Tyler, because you have IndyCar, you have NASCAR all under the same house, under the same track, same facility from a race weekend. Motorsports fans are going to be very much circling this on their calendars. We'll see how the tickets look. We'll see how the ratings look when we talk about it after. But going to be a really cool crossover. Again, something we don't see often. We saw the double header at the Indy road course a few years back. I believe that was Xfinity and the IndyCar series as well. So we don't get these opportunities much. So I think as motorsports fans, we chalk this up not only as a W, but a capital W.
Matt, let me ask you this. We mentioned there's some synergy involved in this. Fox involved in both entities is a big deal. Roger Penske, of course, owns IndyCar and is a NASCAR team owner. And he's made it very clear since the day he purchased IndyCar that he would like to see NASCAR and IndyCar work together. But at the end of the day, they are technically still competitors, even if NASCAR is on a much higher level than IndyCar is, which they are. How much do you think this matters to these two entities of the direct competition here of, how the races compare, how the ratings are, the fan attendance compared head to head? How much of that internal competition do you think matters to these two entities?
No, I think it matters a lot. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head earlier when you said, what was it, high tides rise all ships. So I think for the most part, this is going to be a win all the way around for everybody, and it's just cool, isn't it? I mean, just seeing the Indy cars on the track on the same weekend and the same track as the NASCAR boys, I think it's awesome. And hey, don't worry, if it rains, we got lights.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Uh, and then another thing, this I think we're going to see more of this in the future. We are going to see the trucks on track at St. Pete when IndyCar has their Grand Prix out there, and we mentioned Penske, of course. His involvement. We saw in the past that NASCAR did this on the road course in Indy when IndyCar was out there. That was a big deal to have that. I think all of that is good here, going forward. But it makes you think too, like, okay, so we got these things going on. What what does it potentially present to the drivers here? Could we see Kyle Larson hop in an IndyCar for this race? Could we see an IndyCar driver uh, do the same thing? Like one of the Penske guys. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was, gosh, why is it escaping me? One of the Penske guys made it very clear. The one that grew up with Josh Berry. Who am I thinking of, guys? Um, that he made it very clear he wants to try out NASCAR. And we've heard a number of IndyCar guys say the same
Oh,
thing.
Joseph Newgarden.
Joseph Newgarden, thank you. Could we see some guys run the double, run Indy and NASCAR that same weekend? You think possible, Dom?
It'd be really fascinating to see if that could happen, and if logistics have been an issue in the past, or these races have been cross country, we don't have that issue this upcoming weekend. Wouldn't shock me to see Maybe somebody run the Xfinity and the IndyCar race, or a Cup spot opens up. Trackhouse's Project 91. Maybe there's an opportunity for that to return. Or you see maybe open teams that would take the opportunity to bring in an IndyCar driver, and just the publicity that maybe wouldn't have had the opportunity to bring this driver in. They're all professionals at the end of the day. So it would probably make that licensing and the opportunity for that a lot easier. Probably, I would say this time would probably you'd see more IndyCar guys make that crossover to the NASCAR side rather than the other way around. But I think Kyle Larson would probably be the worthy or most worthy driver, at least of who comes to mind.
Yeah, maybe AJ Allmendinger potentially as a
Yeah.
possibility. He could be one as well with his past IndyCar experience. And, when we think of timing wise too, these drivers love any amount of seat time that they can. You mentioned that you think IndyCar guys are more likely to go over the NASCAR side. One thing I would say too is the Cup race being on Sunday, you might have NASCAR guys being like, I want to get in that IndyCar race to get more seat time. That way I can, have more time to get ready for that Cup race Sunday. Matt, who comes to mind, whether it's IndyCar or NASCAR, either one that you think could pull off a double here?
Well, definitely Kyle Larson comes to mind first just because he ran the double at Indy and he's kind of got that experience. So I think he's somebody, he's probably the best candidate that would jump right in and have a good shot at it. Somebody like Kyle Busch, I could see wanting to take on the challenge for sure. And like you said, AJ Allmendinger's another good one who's got some good road racing experience in that type of car. So I think those three guys for sure are top of the list, but maybe there'd be a few surprises in there. Who knows?
What
I'll throw
about
out
some
a name
Indy?
here too, Tyler. Cody Ware. He ran IndyCar races. He's run NASCAR Cup races. That wouldn't shock me to see Cody Ware do both.
What about some IndyCar guys? Either one of you have some IndyCar guys that come to mind?
Well, Alex Palou just recently said, didn't he? Didn't he just
Yeah.
recently say he wouldn't hesitate to drive a stock car? That might have been I think he actually was commenting on Brayton Laster's post on Twitter, even about the ARCA car. So I'm sure he would jump right into a Cup car for sure. And I'm sure somebody like Joseph Newgarden or probably any of those guys would be chomping at the bit to go to drive a NASCAR Cup car.
I'll give you another one too that we haven't mentioned. Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's run
That's right.
both
He did run a
series.
full IndyCar season in 21.
It's true.
Yes. Put him in the legacy car. Maybe he goes back to Ganassi or something for the IndyCar side. I can see Jimmy Johnson potentially doing this as well. So a lot of possibilities. I think it makes for a fun weekend, and certainly excited to see both these series on track at the same time there at Phoenix. Dom, what's the odds looking like this weekend?
This weekend for the Mobile One 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Christopher Bell is your odds-on favorite, the 2024 winner at this track at plus 260. Then you have Denny Hamlin at plus 500, Ryan Blaney at plus 550, Chase Briscoe at plus 700, and Kyle Larson at plus 850 to round out your top five shortest odds per the Caesar Sportsbook without a lap being turned on the racetrack. Then you go down the list, Joey Logano at plus 1200, William Byron plus 1500, Tyler Reddick at plus 1800, Chase Elliott and Bubba Wallace each at 2,200, with Ty Gibbs, who is the highest non-playoff guy as far as shortest odds. Austin Cindric and Brad Keselowski each at plus 2,800. Ross Chastain at plus 3,500. Josh Berry and Chris Buescher each at plus 4,000. And perhaps maybe a shock here, Tyler. Kyle Busch at plus 5,000. I don't know if I would have ever seen the day you'd see Kyle Busch with such long shot odds, but here we are.
All right, let's give some picks. Let's start with you, Matt. Who wins on Sunday?
Oh man, how do you go with anybody but Christopher Bell? I mean, to be honest with you, they got some crazy momentum, and I mean, I could cheat and just say Gibbs car because it's probably going to be a Gibbs car after what we've seen in the last couple weeks. But uh, yeah, Christopher Bell all the way.
I'll go with C Bell as well. He's already won back-to-back races this year. JGR is so good. He's coming off that win, and he is so good at New Hampshire. I got to go Christopher Bell this week, even if it is the easy pick. Dom, are we going 3 for 3 with C Bell?
When you look at a slot machine, it says 777. I think the slot machine here would say 20. Christopher Bell gets it done in New Hampshire on Sunday.
At least it didn't say 666. Sorry, Brad Keselowski. That was not the
Wow.
case. All right. So we're all going with Christopher Bell. Time to get to our mailbag segment. We ask you to submit questions to us each and every week, whether it's on Facebook, X, or by email, either one. Feel free to send those questions to us. Our first question in the mailbag this week, it comes from Jeremy, and Jeremy wants to know, guys, with the playoff format idea that's being floated around of going to a four-race finale, what do you think of that idea? Let's start with you, Matt. What I've been seeing is potentially going six drivers eligible for the championship to compete for the final four races. I don't know what else you guys have been seeing, but that's the most common theory I've seen thrown out there. What do you think about that possibility?
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been hearing too. And I don't know, man. I just run 36 races, brother. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. Um, no, it's gonna be interesting if that's what they go with, and it'd be something different. And at very least for a few years, I think it'll keep us entertained with something different. But I don't know. I don't know if you're gonna find anything more pure than the full season points format. I think just about every other series that's been running it's been pretty successful. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Dom, start with you. What do you think about this possibility?
Yeah, it's a tweak. It's a change. I think you have four different tracks in there too. That because it would be what Homestead, Phoenix, Martinsville, and Vegas, if I'm remembering that right. So you have a little variety at least. You have 2.5 miles, an intermediate, and a short track. So maybe you get
And
a
then
little
in with Homestead, yeah.
yeah. So you got a little bit of a sample size there, I think, with four races. But I guess truly at this point, I'm indifferent. It really doesn't phase me one way or the other. I think that's the first I heard six drivers. Did not know that. So that's really interesting to hear that six would be eligible over that four race span. So I guess my question for you, Tyler, would it go 16, 10, 6 or 16, 11, 6 as far as eliminations? Have you heard anything on that?
I have. Let me pull this up in real time as we speak, my friends.
Because that would be fascinating. If that's what that is, they chop five, then it's six. To me, that seems maybe the most mathematical sense, but without knowing how that's all going to look, yeah, that
So
definitely.
this is the idea that's being thrown out there is round of 16, three races, five drivers eliminated. Round of 11, three races, five eliminated.
So it
And
would be.
then the championship six, the final four races with six drivers eligible for that,
Yeah.
is the idea that's being thrown out there.
Yeah, I would say, I guess at this time, let's see how it all plays out. And like Matt says, we would probably have that format for a few years to get an even bigger sample size to see what the fans like. I know the committee is supposed to meet at the time of this taping, I believe, this week to discuss that. And if I understand right, guys, Mark Martin is on that panel. And Matt, I think that would appease a lot of the crowds because we've seen a lot of his posts on Facebook and on X. He's all about the regular season format championship. I don't think we're getting that, but I'm sure that voice is going to be very loud in that room. I know Jeff Gluck of The Athletic, friend of the show, is on that committee as well, as I'm sure there are other track promoters and so many that we are not aware of. Oh boy, to be a fly on the wall in that room, Tyler.
Yeah, and I look at this and I think it's a step in the right direction, but the most popular time in the history of the sport. And when we had the most exciting championship format was the original chase format. And for me, like if we want a playoff, I would go back to a variation of the original chase format. I think we had something good there, and we had exciting races that came down at the very end at Homestead. And we had plenty of times where the winner of that race was the champion. That's what I would look to do. And maybe you eliminate drivers, certain number of rounds, but I think that would be the best way to do this potentially is to go back to the original chase format. I'd be surprised if they did that as far as that goes. But it's one of those deals where we keep tinkering with it. It's kind of frustrating. I would say, Matt, that we're 20 years into this and we still don't have a format figured out. Like you would think that by now we would have a good idea with this. Like it doesn't feel like there's an end in sight that's going to make everybody happy here. And then I hear Jeff Burton this week on Door Bumper Clear, and a lot of the blame has been pointed to NBC and saying that NBC has pushed for this playoff. And he's come out and said, hey, this is not NBC's call. They have nothing to do with this. I'm just not buying that. I don't think it's NBC's decision at the end of the day, but they're paying the second most amount of money behind Fox, and they have to have some value here to their TV contract. They want to be they're the exclusive home of the playoff that has some market value there. I think NBC has more influence than Jeff Burton is letting on here. Like it's a tough medium where you want to give something that the fans enjoy and get a deserving champion, but you also have to give something that rewards NBC where they're getting what they pay for too.
For sure. Well, there's a lot of moving parts to this, and one of the most important things, in my opinion, is the integrity of the sport. And I think ultimately with this one race championship, and again, this is just my opinion, but I think ever since it started, I've had this opinion that it would take away from the integrity of the sport and of the champions of the sport. And don't get me wrong, I don't look back and think anybody who won a championship under the format didn't deserve it. Um, but at the same time, I do feel like it just doesn't have as much integrity as a full season format. And again, I don't want to take anything away from the guys who have won the championships because they're all deserving cup champions, and they all won it in their respective format that we were under. But ultimately, I think there's something to be said about the full season format, and even the old chase format that was 10 races. I think that had more integrity than this. But again, just my opinion.
Dom, I'll ask you if you're in charge and Dominic runs NASCAR and he gets to choose how the championship is decided, what's Dominic doing?
You put me on the spotlight. Yeah, okay. I have to really think here. I wasn't expecting that one. Shoot. Yeah, I feel like it's a fine balance because, yeah, you're gonna run your sport how you want, but yeah, I would think you're listening to the TV executives too. NBC definitely has a valid claim and a valid stake in it. So you want to make everyone happy. You want to protect your integrity of the sport. I think that's why we have the panel. So I'm not trying to avoid the question. I don't know because I feel like as somebody who has seen the last three major formats, the end of that Winston Cup era from 72 or 75 to 2003, and then the Chase era from '04 to 2013, and now what we currently have. Yeah, tough call, man. Tough call. I think I do like the format now, and I think it's interesting that we do have a one race playoff, but I also see where it's maybe not seen as genuine as maybe a chase format. So tough call. Tough call. I'm not trying to deflect. I really don't know what the right answer is.
There's no way you haven't thought about this.
I have, and I'm cool with the format that we have. And I think maybe because I'm a creature of habit, you get used to it at some point, I guess. I don't know. But a change and a shakeup could be good for the sport too. But I think being a kid, if we're looking at the original stuff, I did like the Winston Cup format, the 36 races, and over the course of an entire year, it's not about the playoffs, it's about the storylines each week, and there was still a lot of parity. So you could make the argument there, but yeah, tough to make a call on.
All right. Next question in the inbox comes from Susan. Susan wants to know, guys, with the revelations that came out in the lawsuit over this past week about NASCAR's contingency plan for a boycott, which included having multiple series on track together, do you think that could potentially happen in a race? Um, so, what Susan is referring to, by the way, to kind of give more context here, um, it was revealed in some documents over the past several days that one of NASCAR's contingency plans, if enough teams boycotted, they were willing to potentially have Cup, Xfinity, maybe even Truck and ARCA cars on track together to try to have a field um, on on course for a NASCAR Cup race. To move forward with that, and it seemed like a crazy idea, and a lot of people. I know that I have, kind of held NASCAR's feet to the fire when it comes to this 23 front row lawsuit situation, but I don't blame NASCAR for having a contingency plan. They had to plan for the absolute worst. This is what businesses do. Like I don't blame them one bit for having this contingency plan. They had to be prepared for the worst in case something happened. With that said, I think it would have been terrible. Thankfully, it didn't get to that point that we had to do this. But with that said, I think it would be an interesting idea. I think you go to a road course or something, if we could get a multi-series race like we see kind of in sports cars or something where they're all on track together and get all these different drivers. Like I think you could do that in a road course race or something. I think there would be interest in that. I don't know if it would be in the best interest of NASCAR because instead of having 3 or 4 races in a weekend, you only have one ticket to sell. But I think that could be done in a one-off scenario. I think it would be terrible if it was that boycott scenario that was talked about. But what do you think, Matt? Could we see a multi-series race? Is that doable in NASCAR, you think?
Yeah, and that's Project Gold Codes, right? That's what it was
Yes.
called, I believe,
Yeah.
or titled. So no, I think that definitely would be man, talk about a gnarly alternate reality there, right? Kind of crazy situation if it would have come to fruition. But like you, I'm glad it didn't have to come to that. There's a lot of craziness there, but uh, honestly, it's an interesting question, and I really do think something like that could be fun if done the right way. But I don't know. I wouldn't probably want to see it at Talladega or something like that, but I think maybe a road course or something along the lines of IMSA, maybe even including one of the series in the 24 hours of Daytona. I always thought that would be kind of cool too. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of cool options you could run with that. How about you, Dom?
Yeah, I think the road course probably would make the most sense to me because you do see the class crossover at road courses and sports car racing. So to me, that would seem like a natural fit. Maybe that's the low-hanging fruit, but to me, that would make the most sense, Tyler. If you were to see that scenario, maybe play that out at Coda, play it out at Watkins Glen. That could be a place where you see something like this happen. Those races within the race.
Now, Matt, no offense, as our resident ARCA driver in on this show, but the reality is there is a significant talent gap between the drivers at the top of the Cup Series and those in the ARCA Series. And I'm not breaking any news to Matt. This is not anything personal to him whatsoever, just so we're clear. But like the the thing with that said, Matt, just the reality is, I mean, and you know this, like there's some bad drivers out there. Like, let's just be frank. Let's call it what it is. And like, I can't imagine that Kyle Busch is going to be too happy when Natalie Decker accidentally spins him out totally unintentionally, but it just happens that she makes the wrong turn when he's trying to do something, and you're like, "You kidding me? I got spun out by an ARCA car." Like that. That to me is the problem here, but it also could be part of the excitement as well.
Well, I think it's more an equipment thing more so, but I mean the talent thing definitely comes into play here and there, for sure. But yeah, no, it would be interesting. But there's sometimes that the ARCA cars are a little faster than the Cup cars, so I think it would almost be more of a mess than anything. I think you're I don't know, what is it that they when they slow them down in sports car racing, I can't remember the weight penalty they give them. I'm not up to my on my terms, but I think if we did some of that, maybe it would be uh more bearable. But I think there'd be some interesting storylines. It just might be a little crazy.
Or as the
Well,
kids
yeah.
would say, Matt, we have to nerf the cars.
Yeah, there you go. As the kids would say. That's right.
Well, Don, that's an interesting point Matt brings up. Like everybody says right now, the Xfinity car is so much better than the Cup car, and what maybe NASCAR would be better off if the Xfinity car was the Cup car right now and ran that in reverse. But you could have a scenario that NASCAR maybe wants to avoid where they don't want these Cup drivers to get shown up by these cars that go faster or more exciting than the Cup cars potentially being on the same track together.
Yeah, those could definitely bring up some valid concerns. And gosh, I don't know if you guys remember this. I don't know if it made a lot of headlines on Twitter at the time years back, but I was at that 2019 test at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and they had Xfinity cars and Cup cars on the track at the same time. That was pretty cool, but I think if I remember correctly, they had to make some adjustments to the Xfinity cars because they were going faster than the Cup cars, and it was looking weird to see Xfinity cars passing up Jimmy Johnson in these test sessions. And I may not remember all the details correctly, but I do remember that being a conversation that some of these cars can't be faster. The Xfinity cars couldn't be faster than the Cup cars, and let alone Matt, we're talking in 2025 where we've seen time trial speeds where ARCA cars are faster than Cup cars. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it is fascinating. Dom, you mentioned a couple tracks. Matt, anywhere in particular that comes to mind where you think this could work? Coda for me is the one because that's one of the biggest ones. I know we're not going to Mexico City next year, but that's a giant track. I would think that it's got to be a road course and it's got to be one of the bigger road courses.
I think that, but I also think somewhere like Indianapolis, where it's such a big oval, maybe somewhere like that, or maybe even Michigan could be interesting. You get it's a big enough track where you'd have maybe a little bit of running room, but it's one of those places where if you're just watching one of the series, that guys tend to get strung out. And I think if you had a couple different series on track, it might keep it very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, very well could. We talk about dealing with lap traffic. Imagine that times 10, basically, with this potential scenario here. So, yeah, we'll see if that's in the cards in the future. Uh, Before we get out of here, let's go around the room. Dom, what's going on with you this weekend, man?
So our family's going to be making a road trip. Of course, we had taped the show last week before the unfortunate events of last week and what we've seen around the country. And our family's going to be making the trip to Glendale, Arizona for the Charlie Kirk Memorial. So got tickets. We want to go pay our respects. Getting there and actually getting to the event could be two different things because we know the tickets are first come, first serve, and we know a lot of people are planning on paying their respects. But with that being a drivable distance from where we're at, we felt so compelled that we wanted to make the trip. And again, if we can't even make it to the event, just being in the area during a historical point and a historical moment in our country just felt like it's the right move.
That's awesome. Very sad news on that front of the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and certainly heartbreaking. And hopefully it's a turning point in our country from here on out. But certainly very cool of you and your wife Feliz and everybody to make that trip. Certainly that's going to be very cool for you guys to experience that, and very patriotic of you, I would say as well. I'm in Oklahoma this week. Studio background a little bit different. I'm at my parents' house. Going to the Oklahoma Auburn game on Saturday. So if you're out there, folks, watching some college football, let me know. Hit me up, and we can root on the Sooners to victory in SEC country. So that's what I'll be up to.
Tyler Jones tweet up at the game, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, Jeff Gluck style. Yes, Jeff. Bob Pockris. I'll do my thing. Matt, what's going on with you?
Yeah, we're gonna head out to Salem Speedway and have a little fun with the ARCA car again this weekend, and yeah, just go and enjoy our time there, get a little more experience, and hopefully get us more ready for when we get a real opportunity again here soon.
Looking forward to it. That'll be great to see. We'll put the checkered flag out on this edition of Let's Go Racing, episode 200 in the books. Subscribe to the show. New episodes out each and every week. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review or don't leave us one at all. Hit that like button. We certainly would appreciate it. Follow us on social media as well, Facebook, X, and all those platforms. And check out the Studio Soapbox Network. This show, The Jones Report, Coach Moto's podcast on all podcast platforms. For Dominic Aragon and Matt Kemp, I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks so long. It's been another edition of Let's Go Racing. We'll see you next week.